You're searching for what you already have. The abundance you want isn't coming. It's here. What if chasing more is why you feel empty? Why do people with everything still feel poor? What are you blind to that's sitting right in front of you? Can you access wealth without earning another dollar? The next 6 hours will rewire how you see your life. Keep searching. Stay stuck. Shift perspective. Unlock everything. Take a breath with me right now. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just pause. Notice that you're breathing. Notice that you're alive. Notice that you have access to this information, this voice, this moment. That's already abundance. You just don't see it yet. I'm going to make you a promise that might sound impossible. By the time we finish this journey together, you'll discover that everything you've been working toward, striving for, and losing sleep over is already in your possession. Not in some abstract metaphysical way that makes you roll your eyes. In a concrete, tangible, immediately accessible way that changes how you wake up tomorrow morning. But here's the problem. You're blind to it. We all are, and there's a reason for that. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah worked in tech, pulled down 6 figures, lived in a nice apartment, had friends, was healthy, could travel when she wanted. On paper, she had it all. But every Sunday night, she'd sit on her couch with this hollow feeling in her chest. The feeling that she was still waiting for her life to start. Still waiting to arrive at some destination where she'd finally feel like she'd made it. She'd scroll through social media and see people with more money, more freedom, more success, more happiness. And she'd think to herself, when I get there, then I'll feel abundant. Then I'll feel like I have enough. She came to me after 5 years of this cycle. She'd gotten promotions, pay raises, moved to a better apartment, traveled to 12 countries, and the feeling was still there. That hollow Sunday night feeling. That sense that the real wealth was somewhere else, just out of reach. I asked her one question. What if everything you're looking for is already in your life and you just can't see it? She laughed. She thought I was going to give her some gratitude journal advice, tell her to count her blessings, slap a positive thinking band-aid on her emptiness. But that's not what this is. This is about something much deeper and much more practical. This is about the perceptual operating system that's running in your brain right now, keeping you locked in scarcity even when you're surrounded by abundance. And more importantly, this is about how to rewrite that operating system so you can access the wealth that's already yours. Let me be clear about what I mean by wealth. I'm not just talking about money, though we'll get there. I'm talking about every form of resource, every form of capital, every form of richness that makes life worth living. Time, energy, attention, relationships, skills, health, access, opportunity, freedom, joy, connection, all of it. Most people are sitting on a gold mine and can't see it because they're wearing scarcity goggles. Those goggles filter reality so you only see what's missing, what's lacking, what you don't have yet. They create a perceptual blindness to the abundance that's already present. And the worst part? The more you chase what's missing, the more invisible your existing abundance becomes. It's like trying to find your glasses while you're wearing them. The act of searching prevents you from seeing that what you're looking for is already on your face. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to remove those goggles, one layer at a time. We're going to train your brain to see differently. And we're going to build a new operating system that lets you access, leverage, and multiply the wealth you already possess. This isn't about settling. This isn't about giving up on your goals. This isn't about convincing yourself you don't want more. This is about recognizing that you can't build anything sustainable on a foundation of scarcity. You can't create more from a place of not enough. The people who genuinely expand their wealth in every sense of the word are the ones who first learn to see and utilize what they already have. So let's start with the hard truth. You have abundance blindness. I have it too, we all do. It's not your fault. It's how your brain is wired. But it is your responsibility to override it. Think about the last time you upgraded your phone. Remember how amazing it felt for about 3 days? All those new features, that faster processor, that better camera. And then what happened? It became normal. It became baseline. It became invisible. That's hedonic adaptation. Your brain's tendency to recalibrate to any new level of abundance and treat it as the new normal. The new 0 point. This means that no matter what you acquire, no matter what you achieve, your brain will automatically adjust and create a new sense of lack. The goalpost moves. The finish line shifts. You think you need $10,000, then you get it and suddenly you need $50,000. You think you need a better job, then you get it and suddenly you need a better title. This never ends, not until you see what's happening and interrupt the pattern. The scarcity operating system runs on three core filters: the comparison filter, the future focus filter, and the not enough filter. Let's break them down. The comparison filter is constantly measuring your resources against someone else's, not against your actual needs, not against what would genuinely make you happy, against an endless parade of people who have more. Social media supercharges this filter. Every scroll is a comparison. Every post is a measurement, and your brain interprets each comparison as evidence that you're falling behind, that you're lacking, that you're not enough. Here's the thing. There will always be someone with more. Always. If you're measuring your abundance by comparison, you've guaranteed your own poverty. You've created a game you can't win, because even if you reach the top 1%, you'll just compare yourself to the top 0.1%. The filter doesn't turn off. It just finds new targets. The future focus filter keeps your attention locked on what you'll have later, rather than what you have now. It trains you to believe that your real life starts after you hit the next milestone, after you get the promotion, after you make the money, after you find the partner, after you lose the weight. Your current life becomes just the waiting room for your real life. This creates a chronic state of postponement. You're always living in the gap between here and there, between now and then, between what is and what should be. And in that gap, you can't see or enjoy what's already present. Everything you have right now is invisible because you're so focused on what you'll have tomorrow. The not enough filter is the master filter that contains the other two. It's the core belief that drives the whole system. The belief that what you have, who you are, and where you're at is fundamentally insufficient. This filter scans your life for evidence of inadequacy. And it always finds it because that's what it's designed to do. These three filters create abundance blindness. They make you functionally unable to perceive the wealth that's already in your life. And until you see these filters clearly, until you watch them operating in real time, you can't override them. So right now, I want you to catch yourself using these filters. Think about the last time you felt that familiar sense of lack, that feeling that you don't have enough. Got it? Now ask yourself, which filter was running? Were you comparing yourself to someone else? Were you focused on a future milestone that you haven't hit yet? Or were you just in that general state of this isn't enough? I'm not enough. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Just see it clearly. Because awareness is the first step toward change. Now let's talk about what abundance actually is. Most people define abundance as having more than you need, but that's still a scarcity definition. It's still built on the concept of need, of lack, of insufficiency. Real abundance is recognizing that you already have access to vast resources right now, in this moment. Abundance isn't a quantity. It's a perception. It's a way of seeing. Two people can have the exact same circumstances, and one feels abundant while the other feels deprived. The difference isn't in what they have. It's in what they see. Think about it this way. You have access to clean water. You probably used it this morning without thinking about it. You turned on a tap and water came out. Do you feel abundant about that? Probably not. It's invisible. It's baseline. But if I dropped you in the middle of a desert for 3 days and then gave you that same glass of water, you'd feel like the wealthiest person on earth. The water didn't change. Your perception did. This is the secret. Abundance is always a function of awareness. When you can see your resources clearly, you feel wealthy. When you're blind to them, you feel poor. It's that simple and that profound. So let's do an exercise right now. I want you to take an inventory of your invisible assets. These are the forms of wealth you have but don't count. The abundance you're blind to because it's become baseline. Start with your body. If you woke up this morning without chronic pain, that's abundance. If you can walk, see, hear, breathe without struggle, that's abundance. If your organs are functioning without your conscious direction, that's abundance. Millions of people would trade everything they own for the health you take for granted. Move to your mind. If you can read, think, learn, reason, create, that's abundance. You have access to information that kings couldn't access 100 years ago. You can learn. Consider your relationships. How many people could you call right now if you needed help? How many people know your name, care about you, would show up for you? Each relationship is a form of capital, connection capital. Every person in your network represents access, opportunity, support, collaboration, love. This is wealth. Look at your skills. What can you do? What knowledge do you carry? What have you learned through experience? Every skill is a potential income stream, a form of value you can offer the world. You probably have 20 skills you're completely dismissing because they feel ordinary to you. But ordinary to you is extraordinary to someone else. Think about your access. Where can you go? What can you do? What doors are open to you? If you live in a free society, you have political capital. If you can move around without restriction, you have mobility capital. If you have internet access, you have informational capital. These forms of access are forms of wealth. Consider your attention. Where you put your focus determines what grows in your life. Attention is the currency of the modern world. Everyone is trying to capture it, buy it, steal it. But you own it. You control where it goes. That's power. That's wealth. Most people give it away for free without realizing what they're losing. And finally, think about your potential. What could you do with what you already have? What could you create? What could you build? The gap between your current reality and your possible reality is massive. That gap is filled with latent abundance, unrealized wealth. It's already yours. You just haven't activated it yet. I want you to write down 50 things you already have. Not material possessions, though you can include those. Any form of resource, any form of wealth. 50 items. This should take you about 20 minutes. Don't filter yourself. Don't dismiss things because they feel small or obvious. Write them down. The act of writing makes them visible, and visibility is the first step to valuation. Do this exercise before you continue. I'm serious. The rest of what we're going to cover builds on this foundation. If you skip it, you'll intellectually understand what I'm saying, but you won't embody it. And embodiment is the whole point. Welcome back. If you actually did that exercise, something shifted. You can feel it. That subtle change in your chest, your breathing, your mental state. You just became aware of wealth you weren't counting, and awareness changes everything. Now let's talk about time capital, because this is where most people are bleeding abundance without realizing it. You have 168 hours this week. Let's break that down. If you sleep 8 hours a night, that's 56 hours. You have 112 hours left. If you work 40 hours, you have 72 hours left. That's 3 full days of waking time that's not consumed by sleep or work. What are you doing with those 72 hours? Where is your time wealth going? For most people, a huge chunk disappears into what I call the void. Scrolling, watching, consuming. Not intentionally, not even enjoyably, just habitually. They're giving away their most valuable resource to algorithms designed to capture it. I'm not saying you shouldn't rest or have fun or relax. I'm saying you should be intentional about it. There's a difference between choosing to spend an hour watching something you love and losing 3 hours to mindless scrolling. One is an investment. The other is a leak. Time leaks are abundance killers. They create a chronic sense of not having enough time, which makes you feel poor even if you're wealthy in every other area. And the insidious thing about time leaks is that they're invisible. You don't feel them happening. You just feel the absence of time afterward. So let's plug the leaks. Track your time for 3 days. Every hour, write down what you did. Be honest. Nobody's judging you. This is just data. At the end of 3 days, categorize everything. Investment or leak. Investment is anything that moves you toward your goals, improves your skills, deepens your relationships, or genuinely rejuvenates you. Leak is everything else. Most people discover they have 15 to 30 hours a week in leaks. That's a part-time job's worth of time. That's enough time to learn a new skill, start a business, write a book, transform your health, deepen your relationships. That's abundance. It's already yours. You're just pouring it down the drain. Once you see the leaks, you can redirect the flow. You don't need more time. You need to use the time you have differently. This is the abundance mindset in action. Instead of saying I don't have enough time, you say I have 168 hours and I'm going to allocate them intentionally. Here's a real scenario. Think about Mark. Mark worked in sales, made decent money, but always felt like he was drowning. He'd come home after work and collapse on the couch. He'd tell his wife, I just don't have any energy left. I don't have time for anything else. I'm barely keeping up. His wife would look at him and say, but you're on your phone for 3 hours every night. You could be doing something with that time. And Mark would get defensive. This is my downtime. I need this. I'm decompressing. But it wasn't decompression. It was dissociation. He wasn't resting. He was numbing. And the next morning, he'd wake up just as tired, just as behind, just as overwhelmed. We did a time audit. The data was brutal. Mark was spending 12 hours a week watching sports highlights on YouTube. Another 8 hours scrolling Twitter. Another 5 hours playing mobile games. That's 25 hours, more than a part-time job. And at the end of those 25 hours, what did he have to show for it? Nothing. No skill gained. No relationship deepened. No progress toward any goal. Just time gone. I asked him if someone offered you $500 for every hour you gave them. How many of those 25 hours would you sell? He didn't even hesitate. 20, maybe more. I'd keep 5 hours for actual enjoyment. The rest I'm just wasting, so we made a deal. For 30 days, he'd treat those 20 hours like he'd sold them. Like someone had paid him $10,000 and now he owed them value. He had to invest those hours in something that generated a return. He chose copywriting. He'd always been decent at writing sales emails at work, but he'd never developed it as a skill. So he used those 20 hours a week, 10 hours learning through free resources online, 10 hours practicing by reaching out to small businesses and offering free help. The first week was hard. He kept wanting to pick up his phone. The habit was strong, but he pushed through. By week 2, he was getting into a rhythm. By week 3, he'd written sales copy for 5 small businesses. By week 4, one of them wanted to pay him, offered him $500 to write a launch sequence. Mark almost said no. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel qualified. But I reminded him, you just spent 20 hours learning this. You've practiced on 5 businesses. You know more now than 90% of people. Say yes, he said yes. He did the work. The client loved it. The launch made them $15,000. They hired him for ongoing work. Within 3 months, Mark had 6 paying clients. He was making an extra $2,000 a month. Within 6 months, it was $4,000. Within 9 months, he quit his sales job and went full-time freelance. 2 years later, Mark runs a 6-figure copywriting business. Works from home, sets his own hours, makes more than he ever did in sales. And it all started with 20 hours a week. Time he already had. Time he was wasting. Time that was invisible until he made it visible. That's the power of seeing your time as capital, as wealth, as something you can invest, not something that just passes. Most people are hemorrhaging time wealth and they don't even know it because they're not tracking it. They're not counting it. They're not treating it like it matters. Your time is your life. Every hour you give away is an hour you don't get back. So where is it going? Is it building something? Creating something? Deepening something? Or is it just disappearing into the void? Ask yourself right now, how many hours a week are you leaking? What's your void? Is it social media? Is it streaming shows you don't even enjoy? Is it mindless browsing? Is it worrying about things you can't control? Whatever it is, count it, track it, see it clearly, then ask, what could I create if I redirected just half of those hours? What could I learn? What could I build? What could I become? The answer to that question is your latent abundance. It's sitting right there. You just have to stop pouring it down the drain. Let's move to relational abundance now because this is the most undervalued form of wealth in modern life. Your network is your net worth, not in some manipulative, transactional way. In a real, human, genuine way, people create opportunities. People open doors. People collaborate. People support. People refer. People teach. People connect you to other people. Your relationships are a form of capital that most people completely ignore. Think about how you got your current job, or your last job. If you're like most people, someone referred you, someone introduced you, someone vouched for you. That's relational capital in action. But most people only activate their network when they need something, and then they feel awkward about it. So they suffer in isolation instead. Here's the truth. Most people in your network would love to help you. They'd love to collaborate with you. They'd love to share resources with you. They're sitting on opportunities they could send your way. But they don't know what you need, and you don't know what they need. So you're both sitting on wealth you could exchange, but you never do. I want you to map your relational capital right now. Consider your relationships. How many people could you call right now if you needed help? How many people know your name, care about you, would show up for you? Each relationship is a form of capital, connection capital. Every person in your network represents access, opportunity, support, collaboration, love. This is wealth. Look at your skills. What can you do? What knowledge do you carry? What have you learned through experience? Every skill is a potential income stream, a form of value you can offer the world. You probably have 20 skills you're completely dismissing because they feel ordinary to you. But ordinary to you is extraordinary to someone else. Think about your access. Where can you go? What can you do? What doors are open to you? If you live in a free society, you have political capital. If you can move around without restriction, you have mobility capital. If you have internet access, you have informational capital. These forms of access are forms of wealth. Consider your attention. Where you put your focus determines what grows in your life. Attention is the currency of the modern world. Everyone is trying to capture it, buy it, steal it. But you own it. You control where it goes. That's power. That's wealth. Most people give it away for free without realizing what they're losing. And finally, think about your potential. What could you do with what you already have? What could you create? What could you build? The gap between your current reality and your possible reality is massive. That gap is filled with latent abundance, unrealized wealth. It's already yours. You just haven't activated it yet. I want you to write down 50 things you already have. Not material possessions, though you can include those. Any form of resource. Any form of wealth. 50 items. This should take you about 20 minutes. Don't filter yourself. Don't dismiss things because they feel small or obvious. Write them down. The act of writing makes them visible, and visibility is the first step to valuation. Do this exercise before you continue. I'm serious. The rest of what we're going to cover builds on this foundation. If you skip it, you'll intellectually understand what I'm saying, but you won't embody it. And embodiment is the whole point. Welcome back. If you actually did that exercise, something shifted. You can feel it. That subtle change in your chest, your breathing, your mental state. You just became aware of wealth you weren't counting. And awareness changes everything. Now let's talk about time capital, because this is where most people are bleeding abundance without realizing it. You have 168 hours this week. Let's break that down. If you sleep 8 hours a night, that's 56 hours. You have 112 hours left. If you work 40 hours, you have 72 hours left. That's 3 full days of waking time that's not consumed by sleep or work. What are you doing with those 72 hours? Where is your time wealth going? For most people, a huge chunk disappears into what I call the void. Scrolling, watching, consuming. Not intentionally, not even enjoyably, just habitually. They're giving away their most valuable resource to algorithms designed to capture it. I'm not saying you shouldn't rest or have fun or relax. I'm saying you should be intentional about it. There's a difference between choosing to spend an hour watching something you love and losing 3 hours to mindless scrolling. One is an investment. The other is a leak. Time leaks are abundance killers. They create a chronic sense of not having enough time, which makes you feel poor even if you're wealthy in every other area. And the insidious thing about time leaks is that they're invisible. You don't feel them happening. You just feel the absence of time afterward. So let's plug the leaks. Track your time for 3 days. Every hour. Write down what you did. Be honest. Nobody's judging you. This is just data. At the end of 3 days, categorize everything. Investment or leak. Investment is anything that moves you toward your goals, improves your skills, deepens your relationships, or genuinely rejuvenates you. Leak is everything else. Most people discover they have 15 to 30 hours a week in leaks. That's a part-time job's worth of time. That's enough time to learn a new skill, start a business, write a book, transform your health, deepen your relationships. That's abundance. It's already yours. You're just pouring it down the drain. Once you see the leaks, you can redirect the flow. You don't need more time. You need to use the time you have differently. This is the abundance mindset in action. Instead of saying, I don't have enough time, you say, I have 168 hours and I'm going to allocate them intentionally. Here's a real scenario. Think about Mark. Mark worked in sales, made decent money, but always felt like he was drowning. He'd come home after work and collapse on the couch. He'd tell his wife, I just don't have any energy left. I don't have time for anything else. I'm barely keeping up. His wife would look at him and say, but you're on your phone for 3 hours every night. You could be doing something with that time. And Mark would get defensive. This is my downtime. I need this. I'm decompressing, but it wasn't decompression. It was dissociation. He wasn't resting. He was numbing. And the next morning, he'd wake up just as tired, just as behind, just as overwhelmed. We did a time audit. The data was brutal. Mark was spending 12 hours a week watching sports highlights on YouTube. Another 8 hours scrolling Twitter. Another 5 hours playing mobile games. That's 25 hours. More than a part-time job. And at the end of those 25 hours, what did he have to show for it? Nothing. No skill gained. No relationship deepened. No progress toward any goal. Just time gone. I asked him, if someone offered you $500 for every hour you gave them, how many of those 25 hours would you sell? He didn't even hesitate. 20, maybe more. I'd keep 5 hours for actual enjoyment. The rest I'm just wasting, so we made a deal. For 30 days, he'd treat those 20 hours like he'd sold them, like someone had paid him $10,000, and now he owed them value. He had to invest those hours in something that generated a return. He chose copywriting. He'd always been decent at writing sales emails at work, but he'd never developed it as a skill. So he used those 20 hours a week, 10 hours learning through free resources online, 10 hours practicing by reaching out to small businesses and offering free help. The first week was hard. He kept wanting to pick up his phone. The habit was strong, but he pushed through. By week 2, he was getting into a rhythm. By week 3, he'd written sales copy for 5 small businesses. By week 4, one of them wanted to pay him. Offered him $500 to write a launch sequence. Mark almost said no. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel qualified. But I reminded him, you just spent 20 hours learning this. You've practiced on 5 businesses. You know more now than 90% of people. Say yes, he said yes. He did the work. The client loved it. The launch made them $15,000. They hired him for ongoing work. Within 3 months, Mark had 6 paying clients. He was making an extra $2,000 a month. Within 6 months, it was $4,000. Within 9 months, he quit his sales job and went full-time freelance. 2 years later, Mark runs a 6-figure copywriting business. Works from home, sets his own hours, makes more than he ever did in sales. And it all started with 20 hours a week. Time he already had, time he was wasting, time that was invisible until he made it visible. That's the power of seeing your time as capital, as wealth, as something you can invest, not something that just passes. Most people are hemorrhaging time wealth, and they don't even know it because they're not tracking it. They're not counting it. They're not treating it like it matters. Your time is your life. Every hour you give away is an hour you don't get back. So where is it going? Is it building something? Creating something? Deepening something? Or is it just disappearing into the void? Ask yourself right now, how many hours a week are you leaking? What's your void? Is it social media? Is it streaming shows you don't even enjoy? Is it mindless browsing? Is it worrying about things you can't control? Whatever it is, count it, track it, see it clearly, then ask, what could I create if I redirected just half of those hours? What could I learn? What could I build? What could I become? The answer to that question is your latent abundance. It's sitting right there. You just have to stop pouring it down the drain. Let's move to relational abundance now because this is the most undervalued form of wealth in modern life. Your network is your net worth, not in some manipulative, transactional way. In a real, human, genuine way. People create opportunities. People open doors. People collaborate. People support. People refer. People teach. People connect you to other people. Your relationships are a form of capital that most people completely ignore. Think about how you got your current job. Or your last job. If you're like most people, someone referred you. Someone introduced you. Someone vouched for you. That's relational capital in action. But most people only activate their network when they need something, and then they feel awkward about it. So they suffer in isolation instead. Here's the truth. Most people in your network would love to help you. They'd love to collaborate with you. They'd love to share resources with you. They're sitting on opportunities they could send your way, but they don't know what you need, and you don't know what they need. So you're both sitting on wealth you could exchange, but you never do. I want you to map your relational capital right now. But everyone can't. That's the whole point. What's easy for you is hard for someone else. What's obvious to you is mysterious to someone else. What's automatic for you requires conscious effort for someone else. That gap is where value lives. So let's do an inventory. Write down 20 skills you have. Include everything. Professional skills, personal skills, hobbies, things you're good at that feel totally normal to you. Things people have complimented you on. Things you do better than most people you know. Don't filter. Don't judge. Just write. You might have things like, I'm good at making spreadsheets. I'm good at finding the best deals. I'm good at remembering names. I'm good at fixing technical problems. I'm good at cooking healthy meals. I'm good at decluttering spaces. I'm good at taking photos. I'm good at editing. I'm good at researching. I'm good at synthesizing information. I'm good at facilitating conversations. I'm good at mediating conflicts. I'm good at managing projects. I'm good at hitting deadlines. I'm good at learning new software. I'm good at explaining things to children. I'm good at making people laugh. I'm good at planning events. I'm good at following through. All of those are skills. All of those are valuable. All of those could create income streams if you wanted them to. Now, for each skill, write down 3 ways it could create value. How could someone benefit from this skill? What problem does it solve? What outcome does it enable? This is how you translate ability into opportunity. Let me show you with examples. Let's say you wrote down, I'm good at making spreadsheets. 3 ways that creates value. 1, you could offer spreadsheet consulting where you help small business owners organize their finances or track their metrics. 2, you could create templates for common business needs and sell them. 3, You could teach an online course on spreadsheet mastery for people who are intimidated by them. Or let's say you wrote down, I'm good at explaining things to children. 3 ways that creates value. 1. You could tutor kids who are struggling in school. 2. You could create educational content for parents to use with their kids. 3. You could consult with companies that need to simplify their messaging or products. Or let's say you wrote down, I'm good at finding the best deals. 3 ways that creates value. 1. You could offer personal shopping services for busy people. 2. You could create a newsletter or blog sharing deals in a specific category. 3. You could consult with businesses on procurement and cost reduction. Every skill you have can branch into multiple value streams. You're not limited to one application. This is the multiplier effect. One skill, many applications. Most people never realize this because they think in terms of jobs, not value creation. They think, I can't make money with that skill because there's no job called spreadsheet person. But you're not looking for a job. You're looking for ways to create value, and value creates income. Now pick 2 skills from your list. 2 skills you could start leveraging this month. And commit to doing one thing with each. Offer a service to one person. Create one piece of content demonstrating the skill. Help someone solve a problem using that skill. Post about it online. Anything that activates the skill and creates value flow. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to start an official business. You don't need credentials or certification. You just need to start creating value and see what happens. The market doesn't care about your resume. It cares about whether you can solve problems and create outcomes. And you can, right now, with what you already have. Let's pause here and do a breathing exercise together because we're about to go deep into the transformation work and I want you grounded for it. This is going to be more intensive than the first breathing exercise. We're going to use it to clear any resistance or doubt that's building up. Find a comfortable seat. Plant your feet on the ground if you're sitting. Feel the contact between your body and the chair, between your feet and the floor. You're supported, you're held. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly expand. Hold that breath at the top for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Release everything. Again. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let go of tension. Let go of resistance. Let go of doubt. One more time. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This breath is bringing in clarity. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This pause is creating space. Exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This release is letting go of everything that doesn't serve you. Now just breathe normally. Notice how you feel. Your nervous system has shifted. You're calmer, more centered, more present. This is the state we're cultivating. The ability to be here, now, with what is, rather than lost in thoughts about what's missing or what might happen or what someone else has. This grounded presence is abundance. Because when you're here, you can see clearly. When you're scattered, you're blind. So let's stay here together. As we move into the deeper work, now I want to talk about the practice that's going to rewire your brain more than anything else we cover. Gratitude. But not the gratitude you're thinking of. Not the superficial list-making that feels like homework. Not the generic, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family kind of gratitude that doesn't actually change anything. I'm talking about a specific protocol that creates measurable changes in your neurochemistry and your perceptual baseline. The research on this is overwhelming. People who practice genuine gratitude experience less depression, less anxiety, better sleep, stronger relationships, more resilience, and a greater sense of abundance. Not because their circumstances change, but because their perception changes. They start seeing the wealth that was always there. But here's the catch. Most people practice gratitude wrong. They write down things they're grateful for while their mind is somewhere else. They do it quickly, mechanically, checking a box, not really feeling anything. That doesn't work. That's like doing physical therapy exercises without engaging the muscle. You're going through the motions, but nothing is changing. Gratitude is a felt experience, not a cognitive exercise. You have to drop into the feeling for it to rewire anything. The feeling is what changes your neurochemistry. The feeling is what creates new neural pathways. The feeling is what shifts your baseline from scarcity to abundance. Here's the protocol. Every morning before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you look at email, before you get out of bed, you're going to identify 10 specific things you're grateful for. They must be different every single day. They must be specific, not general. And you must feel each one in your body before you move to the next. So not, I'm grateful for my family. That's too vague. Your brain doesn't engage with that. Instead, I'm grateful for the way my daughter smiled at me this morning before I even got out of bed. That's specific. And when you think about it, you can feel it. You can see her face. You can feel the warmth in your chest. You can remember that moment. That feeling is what rewires your brain, not, I'm grateful for my health. Instead, I'm grateful that I woke up without pain today, that I can move my body freely, that I took a full breath just now without difficulty. Feel it, appreciate it, let it land. Not, I'm grateful for my home. Instead, I'm grateful for the warmth of my bed this morning, for the hot water that came out of my shower, for the coffee I'm about to make, for the quiet of this moment before the day starts. See the difference? Specific, sensory, real, not abstract concepts, but concrete experiences. This is what your brain can actually work with. Do this for 7 consecutive days. Just 7. That's 70 items total, which means you'll have to look for abundance. You'll have to pay attention to your life. You'll have to notice things you normally ignore. Things that have become invisible through familiarity. And here's what happens. In the act of looking for things to be grateful for, you train your brain to see abundance. You're literally rewiring your reticular activating system. That's the part of your brain that filters what you notice and what you ignore. Right now it's tuned to see what's missing. You're training it to see what's present. By day 3, you'll notice the first shift. Things will start to look different. Colors might seem brighter. Moments will feel richer. You'll catch yourself noticing small pleasures you usually miss. A good cup of coffee, the way light comes through a window, a smile from a stranger. These things were always there. You just weren't seeing them. By day 5, people around you will start to notice. You'll seem lighter, less stressed, more present. They might ask if something good happened. And the truth is, nothing external changed. Your perception changed. You're seeing the abundance that was always there. By day 7, you'll feel fundamentally different. The chronic low-grade anxiety that most people carry will have decreased. You'll feel more spacious, more capable, more resourced. Not because you acquired anything, because you became aware of what you already had. This is the gratitude rewiring protocol. 7 days, 10 items per day, specific, felt, different each day. It's simple, it's free, and it's one of the most powerful tools you have for shifting from scarcity to abundance. But you have to actually do it. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You can understand this intellectually, and nothing will change. Or you can practice it experientially, and everything will change. The choice is yours. Now let me give you the complete micro-challenge protocol for your first 30 days. These are small, specific actions you'll take each day to reinforce everything you're learning. This isn't theory. This is implementation. This is the actual work that creates the actual transformation. Day 1 is Abundance Inventory Day. You already started this earlier, but today you're going to complete it. Get to 100 items, 100 things you already have, resources you possess, forms of wealth you can access. Write them down. Don't filter. Don't judge. Don't dismiss things as too small or too obvious. Write everything. Your health, your abilities, your access, your relationships, your time, your attention, your potential, everything. This will take you between 30 and 60 minutes. Set a timer. Sit down with paper, and don't stop until you have 100 items. Your brain will resist around item 40. It'll say, I can't think of anything else. Push through. There's more. Always more. The resistance is just your scarcity operating system trying to reassert control. By the end of this exercise, you'll feel different, lighter, more resourced, more capable. You'll have concrete evidence of your abundance staring at you on paper. That evidence will anchor you when doubt creeps in later. Day 2 is Time Visibility Day. Today you're going to track every single hour. Set a timer on your phone to go off every 60 minutes. When it goes off, write down what you just did for the last hour. Be brutally honest. Nobody sees this but you. This is just data. Don't judge what you find. Don't try to change your behavior yet. Just observe. Just make the invisible visible. By the end of the day, you'll have a complete map of where your time actually went. Not where you think it went. Not where you wish it went. Where it actually went. Most people are shocked when they see this data. They think they worked for 8 hours. The data shows 5 hours of actual work and 3 hours of distraction. They think they relaxed for 2 hours. The data shows they mindlessly scrolled for 4 hours and felt worse afterward. The gap between perception and reality is huge, and that gap is where your time wealth is leaking. Day 3 is Relationship Activation Day. Today you're reaching out to 3 people from your outer circle. 3 people you haven't talked to in months or years. People you liked. People you had good rapport with. People who would be happy to hear from you. Send them a message, an email, a text, a voice note. Whatever feels natural, keep it simple. Hey, I was thinking about you. I was remembering that time we worked together on that project. I was remembering that conference where we met. I was remembering that class we took together. However you know them. Then ask, how have you been? What are you working on these days? That's it. No agenda, no pitch, no request. Just genuine curiosity and connection. Just reactivating a dormant relationship. Just circulating energy through your network. You might feel awkward. That's normal. Your brain will try to convince you that they won't remember you, or they won't care, or they'll think you're weird for reaching out after so long. But here's the truth. Most people are lonely. Most people are disconnected. Most people are hungry for genuine human connection. Your message will be a gift. They'll be happy you reached out, and even if 1 or 2 don't respond. So what? You activated the connection. You put energy into the network. That has value independent of the response. Day 4 is Skill Identification Day. Today you're writing your list of 20 skills. Everything you can do. Everything you know how to do. Professional skills, life skills, hobbies, random abilities. All of it. Things you're proud of. Things you take for granted. Things you think everyone can do. Things you know you're uniquely good at. All 20. Then for each one, you're asking, how could this create value? You're not going to monetize all 20. You're just training your brain to see your abilities as assets, not just as things you do. You're translating capability into possibility. You're seeing your skills as forms of capital that could generate returns if deployed strategically. This exercise usually takes between 30 and 45 minutes. Don't rush it. Really think about each skill. Really consider the value it could create. You're not committing to anything. You're just opening your mind to what's possible. Day 5 is Attention Audit Day. Today you're tracking where your attention goes. Every time you pick up your phone, write down why. What were you looking for? What need were you trying to meet? Was it information, entertainment, connection, distraction, or just habit? Every time you open a browser, note what you were seeking. Every time you zone out, catch yourself and note what you were thinking about. Every time you feel pulled towards something, notice what's pulling you and what need that pull represents. By the end of the day, you'll have a map of your attention patterns. You'll see where your most valuable resource is leaking. You'll see what triggers your distraction. You'll see what needs are driving your consumption. This awareness is the first step to reclaiming your attention. Most people discover that 90% of their phone use is habitual, not intentional. They're not looking for anything specific. They're just checking. They're just scrolling. They're just numbing. They're giving away their attention for nothing in return. That's a massive leak. And once you see it, you can plug it. Day 6 is Enoughness Calculation Day. Today you're sitting down with a piece of paper and actually doing the math. You're designing your ideal life, not your fantasy life, not the life you think you should want, the life you would genuinely be deeply satisfied living. What does it look like? Where do you live? What kind of home? What do you do for work? How many hours per week? Who are you with? How do you spend your time? What brings you joy? What activities are part of your regular rhythm? What does a typical week look like? Get specific. Write it out. Then calculate what that life costs monthly. Housing, food, transportation, healthcare, insurance, utilities. Entertainment, savings, giving, education, travel, everything. Add it all up. Don't judge the number. Just calculate it honestly. That's your enoughness number. That's the monthly income you need to live your ideal life. Not society's ideal, yours. Now look at your current income. What's the gap? For many people, the gap is much smaller than they thought. Some people discover they're already at enough. They just didn't know it because they were comparing themselves to people who want different things. If there is a gap, great. Now you have a specific target instead of a vague sense of needing more. You can create a plan to close it. But you're not chasing an endless horizon anymore. You're working toward enough. And enough is achievable. Enough has a finish line. More never does. Day 7 is integration day. Today you're not adding anything new. You're reviewing everything from the past 6 days. You're reading through your abundance inventory and feeling the wealth it represents. You're looking at your time data and noticing the patterns. You're reflecting on the 3 conversations you had with people from your outer circle. You're reading through your skills list and seeing yourself differently. You're reviewing where your attention has been going and recognizing the leaks. You're looking at your enoughness number and understanding what you're actually working toward. You're letting all of it integrate. You're feeling the shift that's already happened. Because if you actually did the work for the past 6 days, something fundamental has changed. You don't see yourself the same way. You don't see your life the same way. You don't see your resources the same way. The abundance was always there. But now you can see it. Now you can feel it. Now you can work with it. These first 7 days are the foundation. Everything else we're going to build rests on this. If you skip this week, everything else will be theoretical. If you do this week fully, everything else will be transformational. So make the commitment. 7 days. 7 challenges. 7 shifts. Can you do that? Can you give yourself 1 week of focused attention to change how you see your entire life? I think you can. I think you're ready. I think that's why you're still here. Still listening. Still engaged. Now let's talk about leverage in much greater depth because this is how wealth actually multiplies. This is how you go from having resources to having those resources generate exponential returns. This is the difference between working hard and working smart. Between doing more and getting more from what you're already doing. Most people think wealth grows through addition. You work more hours, you make more money, you acquire more stuff, you do more things. But that's linear growth. It's slow, it's exhausting, it's limited by your time and energy, and it has a ceiling. You can only work so many hours. You can only do so much. Real wealth grows through multiplication, through leverage, through using what you already have in ways that generate compound returns, through building systems that work without you, through creating assets that pay you repeatedly, through stacking advantages that create unique positioning. This is how people go from struggling to thriving without working significantly harder. They don't add more input. They reorganize the input they already have. There are 9 forms of leverage available to you right now. Some you've heard of, some you haven't. Skill leverage is about stacking complementary abilities to create unique value. 1 skill is valuable. 2 related skills are twice as valuable. But 2 complementary skills, skills that multiply each other, create exponential value. If you can write and you can code, you can build products and explain them. If you can teach and you can market, you can fill your courses. If you can analyze data and you can tell stories, you can be a consultant or analyst who actually gets heard. The magic is in the combination. Most people have 3 to 5 skills that, when combined, create a unique positioning that nobody else has. You're not the best writer in the world. You're not the best marketer in the world. But you're maybe the only person who has your exact combination of writing, marketing, and deep knowledge of your specific industry. That combination is your leverage. That's what makes you irreplaceable. Network leverage is about becoming a connector, a hub, a node that value flows through. Every time you introduce 2 people who can help each other, you've created value for both of them, and they both remember you as someone who creates opportunity. They both owe you a favor, even if implicitly. They both are more likely to help you when you need it. They both are more likely to refer opportunities to you. This builds relational capital faster than anything else. Most people hoard their network. They keep relationships separate. They don't make introductions because they worry about bothering people or they want to keep their connections proprietary. But that actually diminishes your network value. The more you connect people, the more valuable you become. The more you facilitate value exchange, the more value flows back to you. Hubs have power. Connectors have wealth. System leverage is about building processes that turn effort into efficiency. Every time you do something more than twice, you should create a system for it. A template that saves you from starting from scratch. A checklist that prevents you from forgetting steps. A workflow that makes the process smoother. An automation that handles it for you. Anything that makes the third time easier than the second time, and the 10th time easier than the third. Most people reinvent the wheel constantly. They write every email from scratch even though they send similar emails weekly. They recreate every presentation even though the structure is usually the same. They figure out every process anew even though they've done similar things before. That's exhausting. That's inefficient. That's leaving massive leverage on the table. Build the system once, use it forever. That's leverage. And the beautiful thing about systems is they compound. Every system you build makes every future project easier. Over time, you develop a library of systems that makes you incredibly efficient. You can do in hours what takes others days because you're not starting from zero every time. Attention leverage is about focus and prioritization, about doing less but better, about saying no to 90% of opportunities so you can say yes to the 10% that actually matter, about putting all your resources behind one thing instead of spreading them across 10 things. Most people fail not because they don't work hard. They fail because they work hard on too many things. They spread their attention across dozens of projects and none of them get the depth of focus needed to actually succeed. They're always starting, never finishing, always dabbling, never mastering, always busy, never productive. Attention leverage is ruthless prioritization. It's asking what's the one thing that, if I did it well, would make everything else easier or unnecessary, and then putting all your attention there. Not some of your attention, all of it, for a defined period of time, until it's done, or until it succeeds, or until you have clear evidence it won't work. This feels risky. Your brain will resist. It'll say, what if I pick the wrong thing? What if I miss other opportunities? What if I put all my eggs in one basket and it doesn't work? But here's the truth. Spreading yourself thin guarantees mediocrity. Focus creates the possibility of excellence, and excellence creates opportunity. Money leverage is about using capital to buy time or multiply returns. If you have savings, you have options. You can invest it in assets that generate passive income. Stocks, real estate, a business. You can use it to buy back your time by outsourcing low-value tasks. Cleaning, admin work, tasks that someone else can do, so you can focus on high-value work only you can do. You can use it to acquire skills faster by paying for courses or coaching or mentorship instead of trying to figure everything out alone, which takes years. Most people hoard money out of fear. They save it and let it sit in checking accounts earning nothing because they're afraid to deploy it. They're afraid to invest because they might lose it. They're afraid to spend it strategically because they might waste it. So it just sits there not working for them. That's leaving leverage on the table. Money is a tool. It should be deployed. It should be working. Sitting in a checking account, it has no leverage. It's just sitting there, losing value to inflation. Invested wisely, whether in assets or in yourself or in your business, it multiplies. That's leverage. Energy. Leverage is about managing your physical and mental state. High energy makes everything easier. Low energy makes everything harder. If you're exhausted, burned out, depleted, nothing else works. Every task takes 3 times as long. Every decision is harder. Every interaction is more draining. You're operating at 30% capacity. But if you're rested, nourished, energized, you can create in hours what would take days otherwise. Your thinking is clearer. Your creativity is higher. Your resilience is stronger. Your output is better. You're operating at 90% capacity. Energy leverage means protecting your sleep, eating food that nourishes you rather than just filling you, moving your body regularly, managing stress, taking real breaks, not just numbing breaks, doing things that genuinely restore you rather than just passing time. These aren't luxuries. They're investments. Every hour you spend taking care of your energy pays dividends in every other hour of your life. Knowledge leverage is about knowing things other people don't know. Having information, insights, expertise that gives you an advantage. This comes from learning, from studying, from paying attention, from asking better questions. The more you know, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the better outcomes you get. Knowledge compounds. But here's the key. Knowledge leverage isn't just about knowing more. It's about knowing different. It's about having insights that aren't common. It's about connecting dots other people don't connect. It's about seeing patterns other people miss. That unique knowledge is leverage. That unique perspective is power. Technology leverage is about using tools to multiply your output. Software that automates tasks, platforms that give you reach, systems that scale your impact. If you're still doing everything manually, you're leaving massive leverage on the table. There are tools that can do in seconds what takes you hours. There are platforms that can reach thousands while you reach dozens. There are systems that can scale without you. Most people underutilize technology because they don't invest the time to learn it. They stick with what they know even when better tools exist. They manually do things that could be automated because setting up the automation feels hard. But that's short-term thinking. The hour you invest learning the tool saves you 10 hours every month forever. That's leverage. Now let's talk about how to implement all of this leverage practically, because understanding the concepts doesn't create change. Application creates change. Implementation creates results. Pick 3 forms of leverage that resonate most with you right now. 3 that you can see clear opportunities to implement. For most people, it's time leverage, skill leverage, and network leverage because those don't require money and can be started immediately. But pick what makes sense for your situation. For each form of leverage, identify one specific action you can take this week. One concrete thing, not a big plan, not a huge project. One simple action that starts to activate that form of leverage. For time leverage, maybe it's creating one template for something you do regularly. An email sequence, a meeting agenda, a project plan, a presentation structure. Whatever you find yourself recreating constantly, spend 2 hours making the template. Save yourself 10 hours over the next month. For skill leverage, maybe it's identifying your top 3 skills and thinking about how they could combine uniquely. Then reaching out to one person or creating one piece of content that demonstrates that unique combination. You're not launching a whole new offering. You're just testing whether that combination resonates. For network leverage, maybe it's making one introduction between 2 people who should know each other, or hosting one virtual coffee where you bring together a few people from your network, or reaching out to 5 people to ask what they're working on and how you could help. You're not trying to get anything. You're just activating your network. You're becoming a hub. Start there. 3 forms of leverage, 1 action each this week. That's how you build momentum. That's how theory becomes practice. Let me tell you about Jennifer because her story illustrates the compound effect of leverage. Jennifer was a graphic designer, talented, hardworking, nice portfolio, good clients, but stuck. She was trading time for money, 40 hours a week creating custom designs. She was making about $70,000. She came to me feeling trapped. She said, "I love what I do, but I can't grow. I'm working as many hours as I can work. I'm charging as much as I can charge. I don't know how to break through." I asked her, "What work do you do over and over? What are you constantly recreating?" She said, "Honestly, a lot of it. I make logos for small businesses. I create brand kits. I design social media templates. The work is repetitive, but I start from scratch every time because every client wants something slightly different." That was the opening. That repetition is where time leverage lives. I said, "What if you created a library? What if instead of making a custom logo for every client, you made 50 incredible logo templates they could customize? You make each one once, but it can sell infinitely." She was skeptical. "Why would anyone buy a template when they could hire me for custom work?" I said, "Most small business owners can't afford to hire you. Your custom work is probably $1,500 to $3,000, but they could afford a $25 template. You're serving a completely different market, and the people who want custom work will still hire you for custom work. This is additional revenue, not replacement revenue." She thought about it. She decided to try. She spent a weekend creating her first 5 logo templates. Good ones, beautiful ones, not rushed or low quality, templates she'd be proud to put her name on. She listed them on a design marketplace for $25 each. The first week, she sold 3. Made $75. Not life-changing. But those 5 templates had taken her about 15 hours to create. So she'd made $75 for work that was done. Work that could now sell while she slept. She kept making templates, 10, 20, 30. Some sold a lot. Some barely sold. But cumulatively, it added up. After 6 months, she had 60 templates in her library. She was making about $800 a month in passive income. After a year, she had 120 templates. She was making about $2,500 a month. She'd created a part-time income that required no ongoing time investment. She'd separated her income from her hours. That's time leverage. But then she added skill leverage. She realized she wasn't just good at design. She was good at understanding what makes a brand work. good at distilling a business down to its visual essence. That's a different skill than just making things look pretty. So she started offering brand strategy sessions. 2 hours with a small business owner. She'd ask questions, help them clarify their positioning, define their visual identity, give them strategic direction. She charged $500 for those sessions. And here's where it got interesting. After the strategy session, she'd often sell them one of her template packages. Or they'd hire her for custom work because they now had clear direction. The strategy sessions didn't replace her other revenue. They multiplied it. Then she added network leverage. She started hosting monthly virtual meetups for small business owners. Free, just a space to connect and share resources. She'd invite her clients. They'd invite their connections. The group grew. People started knowing her as the designer who also builds community, who connects people, who creates value beyond just delivering files. Opportunities started flowing from that group. Referrals, collaborations, speaking invitations. She became known in her local small business ecosystem, not because she was marketing aggressively, because she was creating genuine value and connecting people. 2 years into this process, Jennifer's income had tripled. She was making over $200,000 a year. But here's the key. She wasn't working more. She was working about 30 hours a week, less than before, because she'd built leverage into everything she did. Her template library generated $25,000 a year with no ongoing effort. Her strategy sessions generated $40,000 a year working just 4 hours a week. Her custom work, which she now only took selectively, generated $80,000 a year working about 20 hours a week. And her network generated about $55,000 a year in referrals, speaking fees, and collaboration opportunities. Same skills she started with. Same market she started with, but completely different structure. She'd moved from linear income to leveraged income, from trading time for money to building assets that generated returns while she focused on the work she loved most. That's what leverage does. It doesn't make you work harder. It makes your work compound. It makes every hour you invest generate multiple hours of return. It transforms you from a laborer to an architect, from someone who does the work to someone who builds systems that do the work. This is available to you. Whatever you're doing right now, there's a way to add leverage. The question is, are you willing to see it? Are you willing to experiment? Are you willing to invest time building the leverage even though it doesn't pay immediately? Because that's the hard part. Leverage requires upfront investment. It requires doing work that doesn't generate immediate return. Creating that first template takes time and pays nothing initially. Building that system takes effort with no immediate benefit. Making those introductions creates value for others before it creates value for you. Most people can't do it. They can't invest time in something that doesn't pay immediately. They're so focused on short-term survival that they never build long-term leverage, and so they stay stuck, working hard, making some money, but never breaking through to the next level. But you're different. You're still here. You're still engaged. You're willing to see a different way. So let's keep building. Now I need to address something critical, the resistance you're feeling. Because if you've been following along, if you've been actually engaging with this material, you're feeling resistance right now. It might show up as doubt, as skepticism, as, yeah, but what about my situation? As this sounds good, but it won't work for me. As I'll do it later when things calm down. That resistance is your scarcity operating system fighting back. It doesn't want to change. It wants to keep you safe, which means keeping you stuck. Because stuck is familiar. Stuck is predictable. Stuck doesn't risk failure. Stuck doesn't require you to put yourself out there. Stuck doesn't require you to be visible or vulnerable or bold. Your scarcity operating system has kept you alive. It's helped you avoid danger. It's protected you from risk. And it thinks that any change, any growth, any expansion is dangerous. So it's trying to talk you out of this. It's throwing up every objection it can find. It's making everything seem harder than it is. It's telling you that you don't have enough, you're not ready, it's not the right time, it won't work for you. But here's the truth. You're already failing. Staying where you are is failing. Not seeing your abundance is failing. Bleeding time and attention and energy into the void is failing. Letting your skills sit dormant is failing. Letting your relationships go inactive is failing. You're just failing slowly, quietly, comfortably, in a socially acceptable way. The shift I'm asking you to make carries risk, yes, but it also carries possibility. And right now, you have certainty but no possibility. You have safety but no growth. You have comfort but no transformation. Is that really what you want? Let me reframe failure for you. Failure isn't trying something and having it not work. That's feedback. That's data. That's learning. Failure is never trying at all. Failure is spending your whole life waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting for the fear to go away, waiting for more resources, waiting for better timing, waiting for certainty. The certainty never comes. The fear never goes away. The perfect plan never appears. You just get older and the regret gets heavier. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you've tried. They've been rejected more than you've applied. They've launched things that flopped. They've invested time in things that didn't work. They've put themselves out there and been ignored or criticized or dismissed. And they kept going. They learned from each attempt. They adjusted. They tried again. They tried differently, and eventually something worked. Not because they were special. Not because they were lucky. Because they didn't let failure stop them. They treated failure as information, as redirection, as education, not as proof that they should give up. You have that same capability. You've just been trained to value safety over possibility, to value comfort over growth, to value certainty over opportunity. And that training is keeping you poor, not just financially, poor in every sense. Poor in time, poor in energy, poor in impact, poor in aliveness. So here's what I want you to do. For the next 30 days, commit to experimentation. Not to success, to experimentation, to trying, to putting yourself out there, to activating what you already have. 30 days where you act like someone who already has abundance. Someone who isn't afraid to invest their time. Someone who isn't afraid to reach out to people. Someone who isn't afraid to offer value. Someone who isn't afraid to fail. Someone who believes they have something worth sharing, because you do. You just haven't proven it to yourself yet. 30 days, 4 weeks. That's all I'm asking. Can you commit to that? Can you give yourself 1 month of bold action? 1 month of treating your resources like wealth? 1 month of experimenting with leverage? 1 month of acting from sufficiency instead of scarcity? If you can do that, everything changes. Not because 30 days is magic. Because 30 days of action creates momentum. Let's talk about identity now, because this is the deepest level of work, and everything else rests on this foundation. Your identity, your sense of who you are at the core, determines everything. It determines what you think you're capable of, what you think you deserve, what risks you're willing to take, what opportunities you're willing to pursue, what actions you're willing to take. Most people are operating from an identity of lack. If you dig beneath the surface, beneath the roles and titles and circumstances, the core identity is something like, I'm someone who's trying to get somewhere. I'm someone who doesn't have enough yet. I'm someone who's still working toward having my life together. I'm someone who's behind where I should be. That identity creates behavior patterns that reinforce scarcity. You hoard because you're afraid of running out. You compare because you need to know where you stand. You postpone enjoyment because you don't think you've earned it yet. You play small because you don't believe you're ready. You hesitate because you don't trust that you have enough to offer. All of that flows from identity, from who you think you are. And who you think you are creates what you think you can do, which creates what you actually do, which creates your results. Identity determines destiny. The shift is recognizing that you're not someone who needs to become abundant. You're someone who already is abundant. Not in potential, not in the future, right now, with what you currently have. But that's not just a thought. It's not just an affirmation you repeat. It's a recognition of reality. You do have resources. You do have skills. You do have access. You do have relationships. You do have time. You do have attention. You do have value to offer. Those aren't future possibilities. They're current facts. The problem is you've been defining yourself by what you don't have instead of what you do have. You've been identifying with the gap instead of the ground you're standing on. And that misidentification creates all the suffering, all the anxiety, all the chronic sense that you're not enough. So let's build a new identity, an accurate identity, one based on what's true right now, in this moment. One that sees clearly what you actually possess rather than what you lack. We're going to use a practice called identity scripting. You're going to write 20 statements that begin with, I am already someone who, not I want to be, not I will be, not I hope to be. I am already, present tense, current reality, and every statement must be true, verifiably true. We're not trying to trick your brain or gaslight yourself into believing things that aren't real. We're correcting a perceptual error. You've been blind to your own wealth, your own capability, your own abundance. Now we're making it visible. Here are some examples. I am already someone who has valuable skills that other people need. True, you have skills. People need them. That's a fact. I'm already someone who can create opportunities through my network. True. You know people. You can reach out. You can activate connections. You can create opportunities. I am already someone who has more time available than I'm currently using well. True. You have hours every week. How you're using them might need adjustment, but you have them. I am already someone who can generate income in multiple ways. True. You've earned money before. You can earn it again. You have options. I am already someone who has meaningful relationships with people who care about me. True. There are people in your life. They care. They'd help you. That's relational wealth. Keep going. 20 statements. All present tense. All true. All based on what you actually have. What you actually can do. What you actually are right now. Not someday. Today, I am already someone who can learn new skills quickly. I am already someone who follows through on commitments. I am already someone who has overcome challenges before. I am already someone who has access to information and resources. I am already someone who can make decisions and take action. I am already someone who has unique perspectives and insights. I am already someone who can create value for others. I am already someone who has the capacity to grow and change. Write all 20. Take your time. Make them true. Make them specific to you and your actual situation. This isn't generic affirmation work. This is accurate self-assessment. This is seeing yourself clearly instead of through the distortion of scarcity. Once you have your 20 statements, you're going to read them out loud every morning for 21 days. Out loud, not in your head. Your brain processes spoken words differently than thought words. Speaking them embodies them, makes them more real, more integrated, more true at a somatic level, not just a cognitive level. The first few days will feel weird, awkward, maybe a little silly. Your inner critic will probably mock you. It'll say, this is stupid. This is woo-woo. This isn't going to change anything. You're just reading words. Let it say whatever it wants. Keep reading. By day 5, something will start to shift. The words will feel less foreign, less like you're trying to convince yourself, more like you're just stating facts. By day 10, you'll notice changes in your behavior. You'll take actions you wouldn't have taken before. You'll say yes to things you would have declined. You'll show up differently in conversations. You'll hold yourself differently. By day 21, the new identity will be installed. It won't be complete. You'll still have to maintain it. The old identity will still try to reassert itself. But the new identity will be strong enough to compete, strong enough to influence your choices, strong enough to change your trajectory. Here's what happened with Sarah, the woman I mentioned way back at the beginning. Remember her? Sunday night feeling, hollow chest, always waiting for her life to start. Always feeling like real wealth was somewhere else. After we worked through the abundance inventory and the time tracking and all the tactical stuff, we got to identity work. And she resisted. She said, I don't know if I can say I'm already abundant when I feel this empty. Doesn't that feel fake? Doesn't that feel like I'm lying to myself? I said, tell me what you have right now. Right now, in this moment, what do you actually have? She listed things. I have a job. I have skills. I have savings. I have friends. I have my health. I have access to education. I have time. I have options. I said, those are all forms of wealth. Those are all real resources. So saying you're abundant isn't a lie. It's just accurate. The feeling of emptiness doesn't come from lack of resources. It comes from not seeing the resources you have. You've been identifying with what you don't have. I'm asking you to identify with what you do have. She agreed to try. She wrote her 20 identity statements. Every morning for 21 days, she read them out loud. I am already someone who has financial security. I am already someone who has meaningful work. I am already someone who has the skills to create value. I am already someone who has the freedom to make choices. I am already someone who has access to resources. By day 7, she told me the Sunday night feeling was less intense. By day 14, she realized she'd had 2 Sunday nights where she felt fine. By day 21, the emptiness was gone. Not because her external circumstances changed, because her internal identification changed. She stopped identifying as someone who was waiting to arrive. She started identifying as someone who had already arrived. She was already living her life. This was it, not the waiting room, the actual room. And once she recognized that, she could be present for it. She could enjoy it. She could build from it instead of waiting for something else to happen first. Her behavior changed. She negotiated a raise at work because she identified as someone who had valuable skills, not someone who should be grateful to have a job. She started a side project because she identified as someone who could create opportunities, not someone who had to wait for opportunities to come to her. She invested in learning because she identified as someone with abundant resources, not someone who had to hoard every dollar. Within a year, her income had increased by 40%. Her savings had tripled. But more than that, she woke up feeling alive. She felt present. She felt capable. She felt abundant. That was the real transformation. The external results just flowed from that internal shift. This is available to you. The exact same process. The exact same transformation. You just have to do the work. You have to write the statements. You have to read them daily. You have to let the new identity install. You have to act from that new identity even when it feels unfamiliar. Can you do that? Can you commit to 21 days of reading your identity statements every morning? Can you act like someone who already has abundance even when your old conditioning tells you don't? Can you trust the process long enough to see results? I think you can. I think you're ready. I think that's exactly why you're here right now. Engaging with this material, still present, still listening, still considering what's possible. Now let's build your relapse prevention system because this is critical. The scarcity operating system is deeply wired. You've been running it for years, maybe decades. It's not going to disappear just because you learned something new. It's going to try to come back. The question isn't if it comes back. The question is what you'll do when it does. Relapse happens in predictable stages, and if you know the stages, you can interrupt the pattern before it takes you all the way back to scarcity thinking. Stage 1 is the trigger. Something external happens. You see a post on social media about someone's. Stage 3 is the feeling. Your body responds to the thought as if it's reality. The tightness in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the heaviness, the anxiety, the fear, the sense of lack becomes physical. It's not just a thought anymore. It's a felt experience. Stage 4 is the behavior. You start acting from scarcity. You compulsively check your bank account even though you just checked it. You start doom scrolling social media, comparing yourself to others. You catastrophize. You withdraw. You stop taking action because you feel defeated. You abandon the practices that were working. You go back to old patterns because they're familiar even though they don't serve you. That's the full relapse cycle. Trigger to thought to feeling to behavior. It can happen in minutes, and if you're not aware of it, you'll be back in full scarcity mode before you realize what happened. All the progress you made will feel like it vanished. So here's how you interrupt it. You need a circuit breaker at each stage, something that stops the progression before it takes you all the way down. At the trigger stage, the circuit breaker is recognition. You notice what just happened. You name it out loud or in your mind. That was a trigger. I just got activated. Seeing that post triggered my comparison filter. Getting that bill triggered my scarcity response. That rejection triggered my not enough story. The simple act of naming creates space. You're not immediately swept into the pattern. You're observing the pattern. And in that observation, you have choice. You can recognize it's happening without letting it run its full course. At the thought stage, the circuit breaker is questioning. Instead of believing the thought automatically, you examine it. You ask, is this actually true? Am I really falling behind? Behind what? By what standard? According to whom? What evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? What would I tell a friend who was thinking this way? The questioning interrupts the automatic belief. Your scarcity thoughts sound so certain. They present themselves as facts. But they're not facts. They're interpretations. They're stories. And stories can be questioned. When you question them, they lose their power. They go from truth to possibility, from reality to one perspective among many. At the feeling stage, the circuit breaker is breathing and grounding. You don't try to change the feeling. You don't try to think positive or override it with affirmations. You just breathe through it. You ground in your body. You let the feeling be there without letting it drive your behavior. Feelings are temporary. They pass. If you don't fuel them with more thoughts, they dissipate naturally. But most people panic when they feel scarcity. They think the feeling means something is wrong. So they immediately start trying to fix it, which usually means going back to old behaviors. But if you can just breathe and be with the feeling, it passes on its own. Here's the breathing protocol for when you feel triggered. 4 breaths. That's it. Inhale deeply for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 6 counts. Pause for 2 counts. Do that 4 times. Takes less than 2 minutes. But it completely changes your nervous system. You shift from fight or flight to rest and digest. From reactive to responsive. From panicked to present. At the behavior stage, the circuit breaker is redirection. Instead of doom scrolling or panicking or withdrawing, you do one small abundance practice. You open your abundance inventory and read through it. You write down 10 things you're grateful for right now in this moment. You reach out to one person in your network with a message of appreciation or connection. You review your identity statements. You do something, anything, that reinforces the new operating system instead of feeding the old one. The key is having these circuit breakers planned in advance. Because in the moment, when you're triggered, you're not thinking clearly. You're reactive. You're emotional. You're likely to default to old patterns unless you have a system that interrupts that default. So let's build your relapse prevention protocol right now. Get a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. You're going to create your personal circuit breaker plan. First, write down your 5 most common triggers. For most people, it's things like seeing others' success on social media, receiving unexpected expenses, not hitting goals or deadlines, being rejected or criticized, facing uncertainty about the future. But yours might be different. What are the situations that most reliably activate your scarcity thinking? For each trigger, write out your circuit breaker sequence. At the recognition stage, what will you say to yourself? Maybe, I'm noticing I'm feeling triggered right now. This is activating my comparison filter. This is a predictable response. It's not reality. It's just a pattern. At the questioning stage, what will you ask? Maybe, is this thought actually true? What evidence do I have? What would be a more balanced way to look at this situation? At the breathing stage, you'll do the 4-breath protocol. No variation needed, just the protocol. 4 breaths, always the same. At the redirection stage, what's your go-to abundance practice? Maybe reading your abundance inventory, maybe your identity statements, maybe reaching out to someone. Pick one practice that you'll do every time. Make it simple, make it easy. Remove all friction. Having this written down means you don't have to think in the moment. You just follow the protocol. You see the trigger. You run the circuit breakers. The pattern gets interrupted. You don't relapse. Now let me give you some specific scenarios so you can see how this works in practice. Scenario 1. You're scrolling social media and you see a post from someone in your field who just launched something big. Got funding. Got promoted. Hit some major milestone. You feel that familiar tightening in your chest. That's the trigger, old pattern. You keep scrolling, looking for more evidence that you're behind. You find it. Everyone seems to be further ahead than you. You spiral into thoughts about how you're wasting your time, how nothing you're doing matters, how you should have started earlier or worked harder or done things differently. You close the app feeling worse than before. You've just reinforced your scarcity operating system. New pattern with circuit breakers. You notice the trigger. You say to yourself, that post just triggered my comparison filter. That's predictable. It's not reality. It's just a pattern. You question the thought. Am I actually behind? Behind what? There's no race. They hit a milestone. Good for them. That doesn't diminish me or my path. You breathe. 4 breaths. Inhale 4. Hold 4. Exhale 6. Pause 2. 4 times. Your nervous system settles. You redirect. You put your phone down. You open your abundance inventory. You read through it. You remember what you actually have. The spiral is interrupted. Scenario 2. You're working on a project and it's not going well. You've put in hours and the results aren't there yet. You're starting to doubt whether it's worth continuing. That's the trigger, old pattern. You catastrophize. This isn't working. It's never going to work. I'm wasting my time. I should have known better. I'm not cut out for this. Everyone else makes this look easy. What's wrong with me? You abandon the project. You've just confirmed your old story that you can't follow through, that you don't have what it takes. New pattern with circuit breakers. You recognize the trigger. You say, I'm feeling frustrated because this is harder than I thought. That's normal. Every project has a messy middle. This is it. You question the thoughts. Is it true that it's not working? Or is it just not working yet? What evidence do I have that it could work? What have I learned so far? What would I need to adjust to get better results? You breathe. 4 breaths. Your nervous system calms. You redirect. You reach out to one person who's done something similar and ask for perspective. Or you review your progress and see how far you've actually come, even if you're not at the end yet. The doubt is acknowledged but not believed. Scenario 3. You receive an unexpected bill. Medical expense. Car repair. Something that disrupts your financial plan. That's the trigger, old pattern. You panic. You think, I can't afford this. I'm barely getting by as it is. I'm one emergency away from catastrophe. I'm never going to get ahead. You feel like all your progress is wiped out. You stop investing in yourself or your skills or your business because you feel like you have to hoard every dollar. You've just gone back to pure scarcity mode. New pattern with circuit breakers. You recognize the trigger. You say, this is an unexpected expense. It's frustrating. But it's not a catastrophe. I can handle this. You question the thoughts. Can I actually not afford this? What resources do I actually have? What options are available? You breathe. 4 breaths. You ground. You redirect. You look at your full financial picture. You realize you do have savings. Or you can adjust your budget. Or you can generate additional income to cover it. You see that you have agency. You have options. One unexpected bill doesn't erase your abundance. See how it works? The triggers will always come. Life provides endless triggers. But with circuit breakers in place, triggers don't have to become relapses. They're just moments. Moments where you practice choosing abundance over scarcity. Where you practice seeing clearly instead of through distortion. Where you practice responding instead of reacting. And here's what happens over time. The more you use the circuit breakers, the weaker the old pattern gets. The neural pathway of scarcity thinking gets less traffic. It starts to fade. Meanwhile, the new pathway of abundance thinking gets reinforced. Now look at your external life. What have you created in this year? Maybe you've started a business that's generating steady income. Maybe you've doubled your income through leverage and skill stacking. Maybe you've built deep relationships that bring joy and opportunity. Maybe you've learned skills that open new doors. Maybe you've eliminated debt. Maybe you've built savings. Maybe you've created content that's attracted opportunities. Maybe you've become known in your field as someone who creates value and connects people. See it specifically. Where are you living? What does a typical day look like? You're not scattered anymore. You're not stressed about money constantly. You're focused. You know what matters and what doesn't. You say no easily to things that don't align. You say yes boldly to things that do. You're making decisions from abundance instead of fear. You're building instead of defending. You're creating instead of consuming. Feel the difference in your body. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your jaw is loose. Your breathing is deep and easy. You're not carrying that constant tension anymore. You're not in survival mode. You're in creation mode. You're not waiting for your life to start. You're living it fully right now. Now here's the key. Everything you're seeing, everything you're feeling, it's not fantasy. It's trajectory. If you do the work we've covered, this is where you'll be. Not because of magic. Not because I'm promising you miracles. Because you'll have systematically identified your abundance, leveraged your resources, and built from sufficiency instead of lack. You'll have trained your brain to see wealth instead of scarcity. You'll have created systems that compound. You'll have activated relationships that create opportunity. You'll have proven to yourself that you already had everything you needed. This future is available, but only if you do the work, only if you practice, only if you stay with it when it gets hard, when you get triggered, when doubt creeps in, only if you trust the process long enough to see results. Take one more deep breath. Hold on to this vision, this feeling. This is your North Star. This is what you're moving toward. Not someday. Starting today. Open your eyes. We're nearly at the end now. Let me give you the complete 90-day implementation structure. This is your roadmap. Your step-by-step guide for taking everything we've covered and integrating it into your life. Days 1 through 7 are Foundation Week. You've already heard about this. The 7 micro-challenges. Abundance inventory. Time tracking. Relationship activation. Skill identification. Attention audit. Enoughness calculation. Integration. By the end of this week, you have data. You have awareness. You know where you're starting from. This is critical. You can't change what you can't see. Days 8 through 30 are installation phase. This is where you're building the daily practices. Every morning, you read your 20 identity statements out loud. Every morning, you do your 10 gratitudes. Specific, felt, different each day. Every evening, you do a 3-minute reflection. What abundance did I notice today? Where did my attention go? What did I create or activate? What am I learning? You're also implementing at least one leverage action per week, creating a template, making an introduction, offering a service, building a small system, reaching out to 5 people, posting content that demonstrates your skills, something that activates your resources and creates value flow. You're experimenting, you're testing, you're learning what works, and you're using your circuit breakers every time you get triggered. Every single time, no exceptions. The triggers will come. Social media comparisons, unexpected expenses, goals you don't hit, rejections, criticism, uncertainty. When they come, you run the circuit breaker sequence. Recognition, questioning, breathing, redirection. You interrupt the pattern before it becomes a full relapse. Days 31 through 60 are momentum phase. The habits are starting to feel more natural, less forced. The daily practices aren't taking as much willpower. They're becoming automatic. Your brain is starting to default to abundance thinking instead of scarcity thinking. You're seeing early results. Someone responded to an outreach. Someone hired you for something. A template sold. A system saved you time. A relationship created an opportunity. The results are reinforcing the behavior. You're building a flywheel, but you're also hitting the messy middle. Around day 40 to 50, you'll hit resistance. The novelty will have worn off. The results won't feel dramatic anymore. You'll wonder if it's worth continuing. Your old patterns will feel comfortable and your new patterns will feel like work. This is the danger zone. This is where most people quit. Don't quit. Use your circuit breakers. Remind yourself why you started. Review your before and after. Look at what's different from day one. Reach out to someone for support or accountability. This phase passes. Everyone hits it. The ones who break through are just the ones who don't quit. Days 61 through 90 are integration phase. The practices are becoming automatic now. You don't have to force yourself to do the gratitude protocol. It's just what you do in the morning. You don't have to remind yourself to use circuit breakers. You notice triggers automatically and interrupt the pattern naturally. You don't have to convince yourself you have abundance. You can see it. You can feel it. It's just true. Your results are compounding now. The leverage actions you took in weeks 1 through 8 are starting to pay off. The relationships you activated are generating opportunities. The systems you built are saving you hours every week. The skills you leveraged are creating income. The time you redirected is producing tangible outputs. Everything is starting to click. At day 90, you do your first major review. You sit down for 3 hours and assess everything. Where did you start? Where are you now? What changed? What worked? What didn't? What needs adjustment? What should you double down on? You look at your original abundance inventory and see how much more you can add now. You look at your original enoughness number and see if it's changed or if you've closed the gap. You celebrate every single win, no matter how small. You acknowledge how far you've come. Then you set your next 90-day plan. Because this doesn't end at 90 days. This is a lifestyle. This is how you live now. You've installed a new operating system. Now you maintain it and upgrade it. You keep building. You keep leveraging. You keep activating. You keep creating. This is your roadmap. 90 days, 13 weeks, 3 months. That's all. Can you give yourself 3 months of focused attention on shifting from scarcity to abundance? Can you commit to the daily practices, the weekly actions, the circuit breakers, the experimentation? I believe you can. I believe you're ready. I believe that's exactly why you're here. Why you've listened all the way to the end. Why you're still engaged with this material. Everything is already yours. The time you have, the skills you possess, the relationships you've built, the attention you control, the potential you carry, the value you can create. It's all here. It's all now. It's all accessible. The only question is, what will you do with it? Will you keep waiting for more? Will you keep focused on what's missing? Will you keep operating from scarcity? Or will you see clearly? Will you leverage what you have? Will you build from sufficiency? That choice determines everything. Not your circumstances, not your resources, not your background. Your choice, what you decide to see, what you decide to do, what you decide to believe about yourself. You have resources you're not using, skills you're not leveraging, time you're leaking, relationships you're not activating, attention you're wasting, potential you're not realizing. That's abundance sitting right there, waiting for you to see it, to count it, to deploy it. Stop waiting. Stop comparing. Stop postponing. Stop believing the scarcity story. It's not true. It never was. It was just a filter, a bad operating system, a perceptual error. You're abundant right now, today, this moment, with what you currently have. Not because I say so, because it's objectively true. You have access to resources. You have capabilities. You have value to offer. That's abundance. That's wealth. That's sufficiency. Now act like it. Live like it. Build like it. Create like it. Give like it. Connect like it. Show up like it. Everything is already yours. Now prove it to yourself.